Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. How are you guys this week? I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody's warm. I know it's getting cold. Thank you to everyone who's interacted with the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok pages. Y'all are awesome. Facebook's still being weird for me, so if you guys could just continue to share memes and keep the group going, I would really appreciate it. Maybe one day my Facebook will work correctly. Who knows? But I can't thank you guys enough for helping to be interactive and do the polls and just be awesome. Thank you. You guys have really helped make this podcast successful. So thank you for everybody. And thank you for everyone who participated in the Wednesday polling questions. Apparently most of us eat ham and like to look at Christmas lights, and I'm glad for that. But I do love learning about you guys, so thank you again. Also, thanks for coming back for another episode about Florida. I love that you guys have really helped make this podcast possible, for listening, supporting, telling others about it, interacting. And I want you all to know that I care about you, each and every one of you. I appreciate every suggestion, comment, review from every one of you. And I hope nothing but great things for 2023 for every one of you. I hope everyone has a great Christmas. And I can't thank you enough. Thanks for when you've checked on me when I was under the weather, when I lost my mom, when the hurricanes hit. You guys were very supportive and interactive, and I appreciate that. You guys really helped me get through this year, and so I wanted to say all that before I go on with the episode because I really want you guys to know that you guys mean a lot to me. And I really am appreciative of the ones I've really gotten to know really well. So thank you. Thank you for letting me call you guys friends. So let's talk about something that's happening right now. It's cold. I don't like the cold. You probably don't like the cold either. In fact, you probably moved to Florida to avoid the cold. That's why we live here. And I can admit that's the same reason that I live in Florida. I moved to Florida to be warm, and I kind of like posting those annoying beach photos in January with my friends and family from where I grew up are freezing. Although I do feel for them right now. Where I'm at, it's not where I'm at, but where I'm from, it's 6 degrees. No, just no. We like Florida for the tropical paradise year-round, and for the most part, Florida does have those times that, it gets cold. I mean, it gets cold right now, but sometimes it gets really cold. I've actually lived in Florida when it did that thing that none of us like. It snowed and iced back in 2014, and I'll tell you right now, it stopped the entire part of the panhandle I was in. The bridges were frozen over, so they closed them. Nobody could drive. There are no snow trucks, and it was interesting, but let me tell you, the beach is actually really pretty, covered in a dusting of snow. That once-in-a-lifetime thing you get to see. Now, of course, we know that snow is very rare in Florida, but it happens. It's not completely out of the question. Of course, the Panhandle in northern Florida have the larger possibilities for snow and ice, but it occasionally, very, very, very rarely, occasionally happens in central and southern Florida. Honestly, most of the major cities in Florida have no recorded measurable snowfall, but that doesn't mean it hasn't flurried or hasn't tried. So let's talk about snow in Florida today. The majority of snow events in Florida have taken place in Jacksonville area, or the Panhandle, which makes sense. Jacksonville, fun fact, actually recorded 0.9 inches of snow in its history, and it fell on February 12th, 1899. Pensacola has recorded as much as 2 inches in the 18 and 1900s. And Tampa actually had a recorded snowfall of 0.2 inches, and it fell on January 18th, 1977. So it does happen. Rarely, but it happens. So I'm just going to share with you a few major snow events in Florida's history. The first recorded one was December 19th, 1765. A white frost, as they called it, fell in the northern part of the British colony of East Florida. So, of course, that means Jacksonville, St. Augustine. And I love that they call it a white frost. In 1774, a snowstorm extended across the territory, and residents spoke of an extraordinary white rain. By the way, this makes me really want to know when the word snow came into existence, because it's a white frost and a white rain. January 13th, 1852, half an inch fell in Jacksonville. December 1st, 1876, flurries occurred in Punta Rasa, Florida, which is in Lee County, which is in South Florida, and I mean almost Naples, South Florida. So it does happen. December 5th, 1886, 1.5 inches fell in Pensacola after a heavy rain windstorm. Snow fell for 4 hours. February 14th, 1892, Pensacola got 3 inches of snow. See? It does happen. February 12th and 13th. It didn't in 1899. The Great Blizzard happened and 4 inches of snow fell at Lake Butler, which is kind of between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. But 4 inches of snow in Florida, that's rare. February 8th and 9th of 1947, snow fell as far as Clearwater, Florida. No accumulation occurred, but it did fall. February 2nd and 3rd of 1951, St. Augustine got 2 inches of snow. February 13th, 1958, 2.8 inches fell in Tallahassee. January 30th, 1977, 3 inches of snow fell in Crestview. December 23rd and 24th, 1989. Snow fell across the state with some areas near Jacksonville reporting several inches of snow. Light snow fell as far south as Pinellas County, and this is the first white Christmas in the history of Jacksonville. I think that's very timing because it's freezing right now and it's the 23rd. January 24th, 2003, flurries reported in Fort Pierce. That does not surprise me because I remember I was living in Tennessee and we had a blizzard conditions and it shut down most of Georgia and Atlanta and it went into Florida. So that doesn't surprise me that it was in Fort Pierce, although Fort Pierce is down there. January 3rd, 2008, flurries reported in Daytona Beach. My favorite, January 28th and 29th of 2014, a major winter event resulted in freezing rain, sleet, and snow across the Panhandle. Pensacola received 1.8 inches of snow and as much as, a large section of I-10 was closed on the Panhandle due to ice. I lived through that. I will tell you about that one in a minute. I also lived through this one, January 2nd and 3rd of 2018. Welcome to 2018. A winter storm hit Florida across I-10 from Tallahassee to Jacksonville. Tallahassee received 1.1 inch of snow and freezing rain. The temperatures in the Panhandle dropped to the teens and 20s, prompting school closures, business closures, and I-10 was closed due to icing. I also lived to that one. So snow does happen. Let me tell you my experiences. I told you that 2014, we had just moved to the Panhandle. We were living between Pensacola and Fort Walton in Navarre, which, by the way, visit Navarre. It's beautiful. And I remember going to Publix, like the 27th or 26th, and they had been calling for snow. Now, I didn't believe it. Yeah, I'm from Tennessee. Yes, I can drive in it. Yes, I understand the concept of driving on ice. But it was Florida. It doesn't do that in Florida, or at least I didn't think it did. And so we were working in Fort Walton, which is technically like 40 minutes, but on 98, it's like 2 hours sometimes. And I had taken my husband to work and I was going to go pick him up that night. We're going to have a date night. We're going to go to Waffle House because it's the Panhandle. What else are you going to do? And so he called me, right? Like I had been home for maybe an hour and he called me. He was like, hey, they're going to close the store at 7. What? They're going to close Publix for cold weather? And so I left on 98 and I went to pick him up. And it was raining. You could hear it sleeting. Not a big deal. Wasn't going to do anything. It was Florida. By the time I picked him up in Fort Walton and got back on 98 to head back to Navarre, palm trees were falling. Icicles were hanging off street signs. The road was slippery. And we made it home. And we made it to the apartment. We got in. And overnight, it continued to do its thing. And we woke up to snow on palm trees. And it was beautiful. And then our heat went out. Because, things don't, heaters aren't expected to work that well. But we saw, we got out as much as we could. We were not the only ones out. We were the only ones that could stay on the road. A lot of people ended up off the road. Saw quite a few people having no idea what they were doing driving. And, the beach was beautiful, covered in a light dusting of snow. But it does happen. And when it does, it shuts down Florida. The other major event was January of 2018. I was living in Central Florida, just south of Orlando towards, Auburndale. If you know where Auburndale is, it's near Lakeland. And, it got cold. But it does that every now and then. But it got, real cold. And we got reports the next morning that I-10 was shut down towards, I believe it's Lake City, up near in the Panhandle, because it had snowed and froze. And that's just something that's, it's just so weird. It's unheard of in Florida that, you get, because like you always hear, okay, it gets cold. There's a couple cold days. Yeah, it drops down to the 30s, 40s. Every now and then Miami hits 40 something. But it's really, really rare that it actually snows. But when it does snow, it shuts it down. I remember it took 3 days to open the Panhandle back up because they closed down all the bridges because the bridges were all iced over. So you couldn't get to certain parts of Fort Walton. You couldn't get to Pensacola. 98 was a complete crapshoot because people didn't know how to drive and there was no salt trucks. So, it's rare, but when it happens, it happens. I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish I could have seen flurries when I was living in South Florida. I don't know that I would have actually believed what was happening. And fun fact, it has flurried as far as Key West. Usually that's an ocean effect snow, but it still happens. Now, I know it's getting cold this week, and it's cold probably right now. So remember to get heaters if you have them. Don't, if it's cold and you don't have the heat, go somewhere that's warm. Don't freeze. The sun will also still dehydrate you, even if it's 30 outside. So remember to stay hydrated. Bundle up, wear layers, but try to stay warm. And if you know that someone near you doesn't have good heat, invite them over. Get to know your neighbor. Invite your friends. Just please, please, please stay warm. It won't last long. It'll probably be back in the 80s next week. In fact, I'm sure of it. But for the time being, while it is cold, take care of yourself, guys. I know that it's a rare event, but it does happen, and I thought it would be fun to talk about today. I hope that everybody has a great Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you choose to celebrate. Please know that I am truly grateful for each and every one of you. No Florida man stories. I'm sure there's going to be enough come out from the cold weather. So we'll probably have a good one next week. I hope nothing but great things for each and every one of you and your families, guys. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you for listening so much. And as always, that's your very, very cold daily dose of sunshine.